Hi, today is World Theatre Day, and I would like to talk about how the concept of theatre originated in the first place. It can be dated way back to beyond 6th century BC in the city-states of Greece. The Greeks used to celebrate a festival of the god of wine, Dionysus. A part of this festival was taking the statue of the god along the streets of the city-states of Greece in a procession. In the Greek mythology, the god Dionysus had certain creatures as companions who had a semi-divine status. These creatures were half man and half goat. The part above their waist, they were humans, and below that was that of goat. They were depicted as having pointed ears, or two horns on their heads, little horns, and also a tail. And these half human, half goat creatures were called satyrs. As I told you, the satyrs were companions of the god of wine Dionysus, and they followed this god. And therefore, in the procession of this Greek festival, there was a group that followed the statue of Dionysus that wore costumes that made them look like half human, half goat. And the people in this group are wearing costumes resembling the satyrs, bleated like goats in a chorus. In front of this group was another group that played pipes made of a kind of wood called reed. And these were a kind of pipes that were bound together, vertical and small, and the whole setup was a musical instrument. And this group had a master who was in the front of the group. He was the master of the group. So this was the whole setup of the festival. Citizens of the city-states of Greece that would come to watch the proceedings of the procession. Over time, the Greek citizens started losing interest in this kind of procession, and there had to be something that needed to be done. And what was done was that some variety was added to this procession. One of the members of the groups representing the satyrs would come out of the group, go forward, wave his arms towards the onlookers or the audience, go forward and meet the bandmaster of the group ahead of the group of satyrs. He would ask some questions to the bandmaster, and the bandmaster would reply him with answers. And these answers were a part of a pre-made script. In this way, a dialogue was invented. Dia means through, and logos means a word or meaning. In effect, dialogue means a flow of meaning or flow of words. So far, we have seen that there was a chorus of the bleating of goats, the music from the musical instruments, the pans of pipes, and now we have something to do with statements and words. The dialogue between the member who had come forward and asked questions to the bandmaster were related to the stories of the wine god Dionysus. Gradually, the players involved in the dialogue increased. It was not only between a member of the group of satyrs and the bandmaster. There were other actors that were added, and all these actors wore a mask that would express joy or misery. Later, it is the performances between the actors that became more important than the chorus of the bleating of goats, and they were gradually relegated to the sidelines, where they would say, "This is a terrible world," whenever a crime scene took place. In fact, the genre of a tragedy got its meaning from the word that represented this group of goat singers. Tragedy comes from tragos, means goat, oidos means singer. The genre of tragedies became common in the late 6th century BC, that is between 600 to 500 BC. Later, in 487 BC, comedies also originated. So the performance of the actors in the procession with their dialogues became so important that it demanded that there be a separate place to carry out such performances. This place was a semicircular region around which galleries would be hewn out of the mountain rocks or the hillside rocks, forming a kind of a semicircular auditorium. It is known that it had a capacity of accommodating 10,000 to 12,000 people. On the semicircular region was a stage on which the performances took place, and there was also a tent behind the performances, on the face of which were pictures or images that presented a background or the setting for the play or the performance. In Greek, the word for tent is skene, and since it had the pictures of the background, this word skene evolved to scenery, which means a landscape or the background in front of which the performances took place. There would be many plays that would take place in this arena, and there was competition between the people who wrote these plays, the playwrights, and the best playwright would be honored in line with a Greek general. It was that important. This way, what started off as a procession of the wine god Dionysus also evolved an element out of it, that is a theatre.